Okay, so what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to show, why isn't that there? I didn't delete that, did I? No, I did not. Okay, good. I'm going to try to show making curled hair with Xgen. And I've got a couple of different ways I'm playing with this, and I kind of find this a little bit flaky when I do it, but I'm going to do it. Okay, so I've got a description I've hid here from the last video. I'm probably going to come back and play with that later on. But this is the big one I've been working on, interactive groom splines. And of course I deselected that thing. Okay, let's try it again. Remember the UVs are laid out in the 0 to 1 area. And let's call this curl. Okay, and I'm going to make it into kind of a braid. And then I've got my hair. Okay, I'm going to open this up and I'll go in here to the base, and I got the, let's see, I'll get the density brush out. Because I only want to put this in the back. I don't want to do it through the whole object, so it's going to take a long time to make that video. Here, I'll just double click on this, and let's see, we're using decrease. I've got my symmetry on. I turn this decrease value 100. I'll just move my tool setting over here someplace, and I can start to get rid of this stuff. I'll make my brush bigger. Okay, and let's shave all this off. Great, and take a look at the back of the hair here, and I only want a little bit back here. Okay, gotta make my brush smaller. Whoop, I'm holding down B. Do that. Okay, and here I'll just shave off a bit more. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this and I'm going to go to add modifiers. I'm going to add a, who am I, what am I doing? Guide. Okay, so I've added guides, and okay, got all this on here, magnitude. I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit create. It'll create them all over my head. Okay, little tiny little lines here. Keep in mind that if I press 4, you'll see there's lots of little tiny ones in here like raindrops. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to, as I get into the guides, let's open this up. There's a little section here in the guides. I go down to the end guide base. And there's a density brush for this too. And I've got my density brush on decrease with a value of 100. Move this off to the side again. And I can get rid of my guides here. I'm going to hit 5. It's easier to see what the hell I'm doing with these big yellow ones. Big yellow guides. Okay, and I can paint these all out here. And then you might get fooled and think there's nothing here, but you can kind of almost see something there. I'm just going to hit 4, and you'll see there's a bunch up in here, and they're sticking inside of the mesh. So I'm just going to get rid of those. Okay, great. I don't think there's any more. I'm just staring. Do I see anything? I do not. Okay, and let's hit 5. Then I'm going to go over to the place brush. And with the place brush, I've got my settings on. I've got symmetry on. Initial length, you can make them longer if you want to, so I can make, oh, 100. Can I do that and see what that looks like? Oh, perfect. Interesting. Oh, very nice for braids. Actually, I probably need like a 3rd braid. Anyway, I'm just going to leave that alone for now. Or a 3rd guide so I can make a proper braid. I do believe it's been a while since I've done something like that. I don't have the hair anymore. What I'm going to do, done that, great, and I've made them long. You can see how my hairs are following. There's a few short hairs back here. I can go to the hair curl base here, and I can go to the density brush. And if I don't like some of these things, I could just kind of get rid of them. I swear I could do this. I did this earlier. I have noticed this can get flaky. And suddenly it doesn't want to do it. Okay, maybe I should have handled that beforehand. Anyway, I'll come back to this afterwards. The big trick I'm going to do is I'm going to take these guides, and if I take the guides, and where am I, wrong one, there we go, I make them dynamic. Now when I make them dynamic, what's going to happen is we're going to get anything funny in here that I left by accident from before? Nope. Okay. When I make them dynamic, it's going to create nHair. Boop. And there we got a hair system, we got a nucleus, we got these invisible follicles and a rigid body thing. And if I press play right now, you see they fall down. I'm just going to stop this for a second. They seem to be kind of rigid. I suspect if I go into the attribute editor and I have the nucleus selected, that has something to do with the scale attributes, and this usually should be at 0.1. Okay, now it's kind of behaving a little bit different. The other problem I just noticed here is that my guides have a limited amount of points on them. So if I go to, here, let's just stop this, go back to the first frame, and if I go into the guides in the attribute editor, and it's actually the one that I deleted. Of course! Nope, there it is. It's this one. Guide base. Okay. I'm allowed to do this after I've done this. I think I did this all in the wrong order. And I'm not allowed to do it now. Here, let's just check out something. Can I undo this? This is when it gets really flaky if I do this. Okay, just hold on a second there. 128. I'm going to put in something obnoxious like 128. Hit rebuild. Lets me do it. Okay, and then I go zipping over here and make guides dynamic. By the way, just letting you know now that this could be really flaky because I did this, but nope, it looks like it's going to work. And okay, so I got it working here. I'll go back to the first frame. And if I go into the hypergraph, which is looking over here, if I grab these nodes right here, okay, I'm looking, and remember that I always have options display shape hidden underworld nodes on, otherwise you might not be able to find these things. Here, I'll put it kind of on an angle so you can see it. And if I go in and I go to the modeling section and I go into curves, I can hit curl. And I'll hit G a couple of times. Oh. There, so you can see they're curling. Now we can't really see much of an effect because, again, I was thinking and I didn't really think this through. If I go to the hair base, this thing's only got 5 sections. What about 128? Rebuild. Yay! And so I've got curly locks. I probably should have tried to do some other thing to this. 128, let's go 256. Okay, lots of little points on this. I could probably also have, when I went to this thing originally, put on tubes so I can kind of see the hair. So I've got a lot of the kinks out. There's still kinks in here. I could probably go and increase that, that section with the curves a bit more. But I have made curly hair. And there it is, all falling down. I probably got to style that hair a little bit. And if I went back and it's got problems, it's crashing. So let's go back here, grab the body, and we'll flip into the FX menu, and I go into end cloth and I make passive collider. And if I wanted to go into, if I go to the hair system and I look in dynamic properties, I can style those curves. I can go in and move them around, etc., etc. And then when I put on the start curve attract, they'll go back to that original position. So they have bouncing, behaving hair. Okay, but if I put this down, the curl's going to come out a little bit here. And it looks like it's going to crash into her back. I have to do some things like lock the length of it. Probably is way too long, but there it is. It's working. It's crashing. And if I did this, it goes back to the other position. So I have to do some styling with the curve. And I'll just point out too here. Let's just stop this for a second. And what if I do this? So I've got this playing. I'm back on the first frame. And if I go into the hypergraph for a second, I'm just going to go in and display these curves. So if I take this and right click and show, I could just hit H as well. There I can see the curves that I want to play with. And I'll just put this on 2 panels once. I'm going to move this over to the other screen. And let's flip this to perspective. I'm just going to isolate in this window, Control 1, so you can see the curves. And I can go in and lock their length, but I can also, as I go in here and I grab some of their points, and here, let's say B, as I move this around, it's going to style the curve. Okay, and it looks like I've got some other hair in the middle here. I'll probably have to get rid of the blending on that. But there you go, I made curls on the hair. And this is going to take me a while to go in here and style this, but that's how I got to work it.